morning, afternoon, evening, and night to all. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the ninth ATSCast. This is your neighborhood dude Jude, your host, and with me is the rest of the ATS heartbeat. So in alphabetical order, say what's up, Aaron
What's up, dude?
and Abid.
You already know who it is.
Yes, we do. Once again, in this episode, we're joined by our good bro Amir. So say what's up, Amir.
Well, one.
That's perfect too. It's an alphabetical order because today Jason is unfortunately off to family, so he won't be joining us.
Now you want to talk
Um,
about alphabetical order. Before it was, my name's AE, right? Nice.
clearly, someone's still salty, but yeah, it's fine, dude.
Yeah,
No worries
yeah,
about it.
nice.
Anyway, it's already September, um, so that typically means the return to school and work after a short recess for a lot of people. But as we find ourselves in the middle of a historical lockdown, this tradition of going back to school or work is different now. It has a starker meaning. Going to the norm is something we aspire to do. Um, so almost every government has been providing funds to citizens to keep up with these hardships we're facing, right? But sadly, that support is about to end in America. If y'all haven't heard, Congress has been in a stalemate in terms of agreeing to a deal to extend the unemployment and underprivileged benefits that people currently have here. Um, and what I mean by stalemate is that they're not agreeing at all to something that's really important to the livelihoods of millions of people in America. So, I mean, just by this information itself, y'all, what is your take on this? Like, it's pretty serious, right? And the fact that it's not as sincere as it should be is really concerning. Free on the table, whoever wants to voice out.
Would you like to go first, Samir?
Yeah, sure. Um, I mean, as a start, American politics has always been like polarizing in a way. It's always attuned to like an extreme, whether it be liberalism or con the conservative side of things, and that goes with their principles or lack of principles, you can say. It probably stems from their their differences in opinions as well, their economic disparities, and like the media coverage that they're heavily covered upon.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. So people will easily focus on the political extremes instead of focusing on the political center, which is more likely in that case.
Mhm.
That's mostly likely because people have stronger feelings to vote when they have like a stronger affiliation with politics instead of in case of those who have milder interest in politics. So you can see how the turnout rates are for those who go out to vote as well. You can see in the African American communities when they're not represented as well in a the constituency, they would have less inclination to get themselves to vote. So
Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
true. I mean,
That is true.
I like that you pointed out, meeting in the middle, because that's what has been wrong with politics, not only in America. I'm not limiting myself to American politics in general. It's just a worldwide thing right now, is it? Like, those that are most passionate about politics are usually the ones that don't have the most at stake, and that is concerning, right? Like, I don't know, for Aaron and Abid, like, and Amir as well. You guys, we three are in different parts of the world. Right? I mean, Aaron and Amir are in the same country right now, but what I'm saying is that we typically live in different parts of the world. So, what are your opinions on this? How is your government, in particular, dealing with the situation at hand?
Um, well, we're talking about the stimulus, the economic stimulus in regards to the COVID, right? In that
Yeah.
sense, yeah. Um, I think in regards to Malaysia, I mean, I haven't been affected by any of the economic stimulus packages because I don't fit the general criteria, the specific criteria that like you need to be a working adult, or like the certain packages, you need to be a working adult with a below an income of a certain level. It's really targeted to help people that really need it, and they do have packages, funds for uni students as well that are unable to afford their university fees. So I think in the case of Malaysia, I do know that there was a lot of positive feedback towards, this economic stimulus package and this whole direction that the government was taking in regards to dealing with the aftermath and the ongoing crisis of COVID, which I don't think I have any complaints about because I was surprised that the government would implement something like that anyway. With how things have been going and how messy our politics have been in the past year, right? Uh,
Right.
so I do think it is something that's crucial, something that's necessary, and I do think that every country should be doing it as long as the ongoing crisis is still affecting people. It still warrants the government to help the people if they're still being affected, which is why when you mentioned that in the U.S. it's coming to a standstill and possibly to a stop. This is news to me, and it's quite sad because the U.S. is going to be facing this pandemic for a long time to come, and if you're already stopping your funding and your help to the people this early on, and I say early in the greater scheme of things, I guess it's worrying to the people that are still suffering and going to be suffering for the next year. So, yeah.
I mean, there is an element of pride, as you said, right? Malaysia taking the initiative and helping out economically with people who need the money.
Yeah.
Is that what you're? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
The element of surprise is more. I mean, in my position, it'd be more like a lack of trust, or a lack of faith in what the new party and stuff like that, because things were really messy. In context, I mean, I don't know enough about it to speak about it, but there was a change in political parties with the prime minister stepping down, and it
yeah.
created a whole situation where the current party wasn't necessarily voted in, but they had the majority. So it wasn't really a democratic vote, from what I know. So
Right.
a lot of people didn't have faith that they represented what democracy is, which is the ideal of what the people want, because they weren't necessarily voted in. So in that sense, I know a lot of people didn't really have high hopes for how they were going to handle things, and I guess that's where the element of surprise comes in, where you think, okay, they're actually handling things pretty well, and economic stimulus package, I wouldn't have expected it in Malaysia. It's something that I would see countries like New Zealand, Australia, European countries do. But
I mean, that's fair,
yeah,
right?
that would
Like
be the
you didn't
surprise.
point out Canada, which is where we're going next, right?
Yeah,
Abid, like,
true.
Gang, gang.
how did we miss out on Canada, Aaron? Like we spent an entire
I
episode
mean, yeah,
talking about.
we talked enough about Canada for me to not have to mention Canada.
Bro, to
Everyone
be
knows.
honest, same. Even for me, dude. And I'm Canada, man. But
You are Canada.
I
You
am
are
Canada. But I mean, in that regard, I mean, we've spoken on multiple podcasts before this, but Canada has done a lot for its people, and it's very reassuring. Even though I'm not getting any of these benefits right now, as an international student and all that, but it's very reassuring in the sense that if I were to set my eyes to settling down here, which I mean, kind of, but anyway, um, please accept me, Trudeau. And uh, it's reassuring in the sense that it shows that they actually care for their people. Like I think they're still doing the handout of, as I said before, like $1,200, just like that, to most of their citizens. I think they're still doing that. Um, and then even if they're stopping, they're creating some sort of other program through which they can help people out and keep them quite essentially alive through these tough times in the pandemic.
I
So
mean,
I
that's
mean,
such a
mhm.
contrasting view to Aaron and Amir in my point of view, right? Because I feel like you have more of an element of trust to the Canadian government in comparison.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, historically, they've just proven that they care about their people more, and even if that wasn't apparent as much over the past, how long has it been? 6 months, whatever. We've been in the pandemic, like we've been on global lockdown quite essentially. Um, they've proven time and time again that they do care about their people. They want to keep everything afloat. They want to try and do their best. I don't know where all this money is coming from to begin with, but it shows that they actually care about their people and they're giving back those tax dollars that everyone's paying. They're getting it back, and they're getting it back real good. So I mean, no, there's always going to be someone complaining about it, but at the end of the day, it's crazy how much they're doing to give back and take care of their own. And although it's very disheartening to hear what you said about the U.S., where they're planning on cutting it off or whatever,
Uh, they're
but at the
trying
same time, it's
to
not surprising.
they're
Hmm.
trying to reduce the benefits from $800 to 300.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going from nothing to again nothing. Essentially, they're reducing their nothing to even more nothing, in my eyes.
Yeah.
But it's disheartening to hear, but at the same time, I'm not even the least bit surprised because that's America in a nutshell, right? They everything's a political agenda, everything's politically motivated, and
True,
it's not
true.
about, as Amir was saying, meeting the political middle. It's not about putting humans first. It's about making sure you're right and they're wrong, and that's very saddening. Whereas even in Canada, yeah, sure, there's that type of vibe for sure. You can't take that away from, well, forget Canada, anywhere in the world, right? You'll have people who are more right, left, whatever the hell classification we'll put them as. Um, but at the forefront of everything, it should be we are humans. We need to take care of each other as humans. And then it should be like, oh, they want this, I want this, argue, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which
Yeah,
I
I
mean
feel like
is a fundamental problem with America too. Is they see, I mean, Trump is, and okay, we won't get in Trump, but like the current how the election whole thing, the whole things are, everything's going on leading up to elections. Like COVID has been put on the back end and is being used as more so a political agenda to show, put people in their favors, right? It's like, oh, I'll get rid of COVID, don't care about COVID, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It's gone from a disease that's literally killing thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, to, yo, you should vote for me because I'm helping you stay alive, which isn't how it should be. But yeah, I mean, kind of crazy to see, but
In the end, politics is the greatest disease. But yes, I continue.
yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
As someone who has never really truly kept up with politics and really don't care about politics, and I think politics is stupid, um, I agree with what Aaron just said. It's kind of crazy. It's wholeheartedly. It's like politics is a disease, and honestly, it's what's gonna end the world,
Yeah.
in my eyes.
yeah, I mean, I can't oppose that. The thing is, like, you did mention like everything nowadays is politically motivated, and Aaron's quote on it being disease is reflective of the fact that it's everywhere right now. So I feel like political education, in a sense, where people are aware of what's going on politically, is really important.
For sure.
Yeah, and
Preach, preach.
I feel among the four of us right now, like we're relatively educated in the sense of we know what's going on. We know how to tell between indirectly. We know how to tell between bullshit and not bullshit. Uh, if I were to make it as
Yeah, man.
as
We
possible,
don't
right?
we know what fake news CNN is, and we know what real news is.
Fox News. We're just
Yeah.
joking.
Fox News, best news stories, bro.
The good meme, dude. Yeah, disclaimer, that's a
There we
joke.
go, Abid. Those kind of people. How do we tell them? How do we tell them that? Oh, not how do we like. I don't want to say how do we educate them, but
Bro,
how do you
like,
give them the
You,
perspective?
honest,
That
you don't.
How do you engage?
You teach their
honestly,
children.
that is one of the hardest things because those are the same people who believe that everything's like a conspiracy or some shit. Those are the people that believe like you can get COVID from a cell tower or something.
Oh, the 5G.
5G.
Have you guys heard of that conspiracy, by the way?
Yeah,
That
we
shit was
did.
crazy.
God.
I don't even want to talk about it, but yeah, that
Wait.
shit was crazy. Um, it's honestly hard because I feel like a big problem with North America is that everything's so not dilute. Everything's so concentrated, not opposite of dilute, actually, concentrated on the few channels that exist here that people only know that and just assume that is the world. So what was mind-boggling to me is when I moved here and I got I have TV, I have cable. And when I got cable, BBC isn't on there, and to me that's like fucking mind-blowing. Or like Al Jazeera isn't on there and stuff. It's literally Canadian TV news, Fox News, unfortunately, and CNN. And I'm just like, it that is mind-boggling that these three North American news providers are your primary sources of news. I think a big part of educating people and having people be educated is you go to multiple sources. I feel like, as you were saying, we're all educated purely because we don't only look at one source, believe everything on that one source, and just run with that one source.
That is true.
We are somewhat skeptical, and we go around looking at other ones, try to get the best information, and make a concise decision over said thing.
Yeah, we understand the definition of bias. Like,
Yes,
a lot of
exactly.
people don't.
Yes, and that's I think so. If you want a simple answer, it would be let other news channels and broadcasting platforms be on what is probably it's weird because cable is dying, but at the same time, it's still the most prominent way of people getting news. So get news channels that don't belong to North American providers. You get rid of Fox News, go watch some BBC, fam. Go watch some Al Jazeera. You have two other, I'm using those two as an examples because those are two channels I see everywhere I go in rest of the world. But here it's like, you know, CTV, which is Canadian TV, CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Channel, um, and Canadian something, and then CNN, and I still don't understand how Fox News is a news channel, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's very simple, but that's the simplest way is giving people more options to get more information. But at the end of the day, as Aaron was saying, you don't because you can't. Because if some people will believe in something and you can't change, if they have a willingness to see something a different way, then you can change their opinion or educate them. If they don't have that willingness, you're just talking. You're better off talking to a wall at that point.
Yeah, that's true. Like in regards to the you know increasing the different outlets of the news coverage that you have access to, I feel like with the recent political situation, or not the recent, but over the past 4 years, the political situation in the U.S. has shown me that that's not really a valid option anymore, because of how much like character assassination there is in regards to media outlets and how gullible people are to believe that like certain media outlets are just completely false in anything that they spew. Like, a bunch of Americans believe that CNN just spews bullshit, and the rest of the world believes that Fox News spews bullshit as well. Even though there is truth to some of the stuff they're saying, it's just very heavily biased. If you go on CNN, 90% of the time they're shit talking Trump, even if Trump is not the story of the day. If you go on Fox News, they're 90% of the time praising Trump, even though Trump may have done something fucked up that day. And I don't want to focus on Trump, but the point I'm trying to make is, I feel like the effectiveness of media, like news sources, when it comes to television, have kind of diminished when the power of politicians, like Trump has shown, in being able to just completely skew their followers, I would say, against certain media outlets, And I feel like, also being raised in a country which has had censorship of media, in, the ruling party's benefit, I guess it kind of reiterates my point where it's kind of, I don't see a way to talk to people that, have their own position on, okay, let's say this guy is a avid, I don't want to keep using the Trump example, but it's the easiest, so it's the last time I'll say it, but let's say this guy's an avid Trump supporter and he hates CNN. I don't know, he's from Alabama. He's a very stereotypical Trump supporter, right? And I go up to him and I say, like, have you ever thought about the other perspective? And he says, why would I? They're all liars, cheaters, Democrats are the reason this country sucks. Then I would stop talking to him and I would try to talk to his kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, then there comes a point where you stop trying to educate them because they're too far gone almost. And it's sad because you don't want to give up, but at the same time, there's a point where you realize that you should be putting your effort in to educate their children so that their children don't end up like them, because their children are still impressionable. And I guess to answer your question, Jude, how do you talk to these people? I would try, but then I wouldn't. If I feel like their minds aren't going to be changed, or if I feel like they're stuck in their own opinion, then it's impossible for me to change their mind. And I would focus my efforts to try and educate people that I feel like are more open-minded, and people that are younger as well, that are more impressionable and more open to all these different perspectives.
You both made out very good points. Like these days, like political intolerance or mistrust has risen to the point where people don't want to talk to each other but having opposing viewpoints. It's as if they're more comfortable with having friends or workmates or even family with similar views, and
Yeah,
there's like no way to be like conversating these uncomfortable arguments or disputed facts. But in the end, we have, if we're talking about having to won these difficult discussions, I think that's a bridge that at some point we all have to cross.
for sure,
Like
for sure.
in the long run, engaging with those who have differing opinions as well will help to encourage that moderation that we were talking about and bring back like maybe nation spirit, or bringing the country back together. You could say. Um, it'll be hard to overcome polarization and extremism as a whole, especially with the different, especially with the very narrow political network that exists from both sides of the spectrum, and that kind of behavior is, makes it more difficult for governments to uh, promote governance that's more fair and more effective in their legislatures.
That's a good point.
Yeah, completely agree with you. That's why I feel I've had a very particular choice of words. I think the solution is not to particularly eradicate extremism. I feel like it's more to quell it in the meantime, because working on eradicating extremism is a pretty, I don't want to say it's a lofty ambition, but it's unrealistic when you see the masses of people who believe in something that's inherently false, right? Um, Let me give you guys an example. I think we all are probably familiar with, since we had stayed in Malaysia for, uh, for a figurative length. So it's about Najib. And for people who don't know, he's counted for 7 charges of fraud in Malaysia currently, and it's a huge thing because it's basically stealing the people's money in a nutshell, right? And they're still supporters, and I feel like correct me if I'm wrong. They're called the red shirts, if I'm not mistaken, but they're still supporters for Najib, who go to his trial supporting him, even though he clearly is uh, in the middle of a trial, even though he is in the process of being found innocent or guilty. This is just very um, I don't want to say it's not right, but the timing is just very off, isn't it? Like trying to voice support for someone who's being indicted, and it's very clear the wrongs that he's been doing. So these are the people I'm trying to focus on for this podcast. Like as Aaron said, you could educate the next generation, but leaving the current generation is still bound to cause problems because Brexit is the most evident outcome of that, right? Where the older generation has outvoted the younger generation in terms of choosing to leave the European Union. Um,
That's true.
what do you do in the meantime? What do you do in the meantime?
Um, it's hard in general because people will follow who they want, irrespective of what the person there is doing. Whether you, I mean, this, whether it's a political figure, it's a celebrity, it's a YouTuber, whatever it may be, people will follow who they feel like they relate to or who they like, and it's kind of hard to take them away from that path. What you were saying on what can we do right now, I think what can be done right now is well, the easiest thing, and that's what everyone's been saying forever, is the youth needs to step the fuck up. And it's true. Although I agree the aging population or whatever you want to call them, the boomers, the boomers are have outpowered, you know, what's considered right in the past, whether it be Brexit, whether it be anything else. I think the youth very much still has the mindset that they can't do anything about anything. You know what I mean? So what's the point of it's as simple as the youth don't choose to vote because they think nothing's gonna come of it. When in reality, your vote does matter, right? I am one of those people. Don't get me wrong. I am one of those very people who think, yo, bro, if I could vote, fuck that. I'm not gonna go vote because I don't really care. But at the same time, it's like even if you have a slight care, you should show up. If you want change, you have to show up, no matter how much of it is in you or whatever. I think the youth are still lacking in that department. I think people have gotten to a point where they've just started giving up, and I don't think that's a mindset the youth should have. Change doesn't come from a mindset where, if we can't do anything about it, just move on and try something later. Which, I mean, I agree to us on specific context is the only way to go about things, but I think if you want some sort of change, you gotta act on it. Unless you act on it, nothing's gonna happen. Everything's gonna be the same. You're gonna complain about things being the same, and then complain, oh, we need change. But if you're not changing, if you're not helping change, nothing's gonna change. I think that goes for life just as easily. If you want to talk about specifically Malaysia, holy shit, dude, all the Najib followers and everything, that shit blew my mind
Dude,
when
it's
they,
crazy, man. It's actually
dude, when
crazy.
they when he went to court and during the pandemic,
No, yeah,
all of
I'm
them
sorry,
without face masks,
I forgot to bring
crowded
that
up
up.
and all.
The pandemic as well. Like it's not like as if it's a New Zealand situation where there's no cases, bro.
Yeah,
What the
Facts.
it's
heck?
during a pandemic. All these people showed up. All the Najib supporters showed up outside the courthouse, if I'm not
Yeah,
wrong, right?
and they packed like sardines, and a lot of them weren't wearing masks too. It's like what?
Dude, they did not. It was as if it was a normal day in our normal, quote unquote, normal lives.
Really, lah, look like pasar malam over there, dude.
Yeah, facts,
Crazy,
bro.
dude.
And that shit made me laugh my ass off. Uh, but it also kind of caught me off guard at the same time because I was like, okay, I knew these people existed. Um, I knew these people existed, even in Malaysia, of course. But I never thought I'd see them like that. You know what I mean? I never thought that would be a thing. So seeing it be a thing, it was weird, but at the same time, I mean, like I laughed it off. But at the same, I mean, like only time will tell with that court case. I mean, I'm on the side that yes, he is guilty. Um, and I mean, I just hope he's actually brought to justice, which doesn't usually happen, not only in Malaysia but a lot of other
Yeah,
Southeast Asian countries, because the political um foundation isn't strong to begin with.
yeah. It'll be a step in the right
So yeah,
direction, I feel.
it would be a big, big, big step in the right direction for sure.
Mm. What I think is really crazy about this whole the whole protesting at his, in front of the or wherever they were doing the court thing. I find it crazy that the thing with the Najib case is he's guilty of something. Everyone knows this. What they're trying to prove that he's guilty of all the things that they think he's guilty of, but it's already been proven that he's guilty of something. He's not an innocent man there. He's not being framed. He has done something, he has done some shady shit. And this is me being very lenient in my wording Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, he's done that, he's done that, but he has done something, right? And to have that many followers protesting, you know, at your at the court is crazy to me because he has embezzled some money, you know, maybe, you know, in a different universe, maybe he didn't, you know, maybe he didn't, he's not as guilty as we say he is. But my point is, he is guilty of something, and how can you support a man that has taken advantage of the country in some shape or form? He's not he's not for the people, he's for himself, and that has been proven. And it's crazy to me that people would risk their own safety, their own health with this pandemic to go out there and protest for someone that really just doesn't give a shit about you, you know? And going on to what you guys were talking about, what Abid was talking about, the youth standing up, I want to say, dude, Sadiq got a youth party, multiracial party. He's planning to start one.
Yeah,
Which
bro, that
is-
shit's fucking.
which is,
yikes.
What do you mean, dude? I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. The
I mean,
responses.
it's yikes. The response
The
and reception,
response,
I
yeah,
guess.
the responses to it are very interesting. You know, it's basically um, not surprised but still disappointed. But I agree with what Abid said. The youth has to stand up. You know, us, whoever's watching. Um, I feel like as much as it sucks and as much as, you know, I don't like to say it in this way, but at the end of the day, we do pick up after our parents' mistakes. We do pick up after the ones that, you know, the ones that left it behind. We do pick up from their mistakes and we try and do better than them. That's always been the case, you know. So I feel like same as, you know, this, it's the case as well. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so to address a bit of what Aaron said, like you could see his supporters are from like mostly the rural areas or like the marginalized areas of the Malay communities, and I don't want to put fault on them as much. We all know Najib's guilty of so many crimes, especially with the 1DB case, but you we tend to forget that a lot of these communities were benefited a lot over the years during the Barisan National phase of things. It their the communities improve quite heavily, if I remember correctly from some discussions I've had. And well, the hugest problem I feel that we got through the protest is that a key word that Jude said was timing. Like during a pandemic, that is not the time to show your face or show show your support or show any sign of like gatherings. Yeah. I, one important note that we haven't touched on was the digital world, the internet. Like it's very isolating. People can find like these political or even like stereotypical reinforcing communities wherever they want, whether it be liberal, conservative, centrist, libertarian, green, gay, whatever you need. This the new technologies that we have now, it just overcomes the limitations of geography, and anyone can find individuals who basically share their basic viewpoints. And going back to what Najib is and Najib has been, there's a saying in like communications or the media industry that any publicity is good publicity, and for Najib's case, I think that holds true. Like you can see it in his supporters, you can see it in how much people talk about him in the media. It will be reflected upon him badly in the long run, but you can see like there is a lot of support still harboring over him, and that has that has to be a portion of blame associated with how the political parties are distributed as well, especially with like people flip-flopping from party to party in Malaysia where there isn't a particular left or right. It's basically well, they're basically the same. They basically carry the same viewpoints, but they interchange because of like some affiliation they have with like the leaders of the or the supreme leaders of those cabinets or parties. And just to go back to that rally that we had outside the main courtroom, I associate it with the motorcycle rally that happened in the U.S. in South Dakota, where they went to this small ass town in the middle of nowhere, and a recent study showed that they have contributed to about 260,000 new cases in America, and that is crazy. And
Jeez. That's a
nobody
lot.
was nobody was actually like giving shit for it, like from both ends. It was so cordial that most of the outrage was shown by the youth, you could say. Like,
Wow. That does provide like a stark contrast again, because we're saying the youth is the hope, but what already of the youth that had that opinion, right? Um, I'm glad you pointed out the South Dakota case, Amir, because we can't talk about politics without talking about race. Race is such a huge factor, and I feel the political bubbles that Amir alluded to are heavily swayed, are heavily categorized by this notion of race as well, right? Um, it's really evident here because of the Black Lives Matter movement, but we'll focus on Malaysian politics for first, because it's pretty serious there too, as parties are usually um, they're demonstrated by their ability to harness like the Malay race itself. What are your guys' thoughts on that? The race-based politics that Malaysia has.
it's bullshit, man.
Hey,
What else can you say about it?
hey,
Honestly,
facts.
To be honest, if you don't think it's bullshit, I don't know what the fuck
Yeah.
you're the problem.
Yeah.
You're the problem, dude.
I mean, Malaysia's, I don't know, man. Like, Ma- I can't really say too much about it, I feel, because I benefit. Uh, because I'm a Bumi Putra, I benefit from a lot of the racial based policies in
yeah.
Malaysia. So usually when I speak about it, people kind of undermine what I'm saying because I haven't really been affected as much. Like I don't understand the struggle of trying to get into a good university with SPM results and then having a Malaysian girl that performed worse than you get picked instead. Like I don't relate to that struggle, but I see how messed up that is, and it's it's sad that everything here is so, we like to be proud of the fact that we're Satu Malaysia and that we're so inclusive and we're so multicultural, but in reality, it's really not, the races are really not treated equally at all here. And it's very clear to see. Whether it's racism between the races and whether it's just racial based policies that the world can see. It's not even low key, right? The world can see all of these policies, all of these measures, all these political parties that, only accept Malaysians, stuff like this. It's very apparent, and it's really sad. It's really sad.
What else can you do to talk about it? I mean, when you think about it, like I, if you talk about race, I can put the blame like maybe you can like increase pressure on your race leaders. I can say like if you're like a Chinese community, you can talk about your Chinese leaders and your Chinese leader up on that political party scheme or whatever. Like I can't really point out too much. It's a very growing thing that
Yeah.
I find trouble with understanding. And then people try to like tone it down and say that we're not America when like we're facing the same problems when we're such a multicultural, multi-race racial country. Like these problems will happen, and like what people don't understand is that tolerance has to be has to be touched upon by every community. Like it's not an eye for an eye type of thing. it's not something for your own benefit, but for the benefit of everyone else's as well, as a whole,
Yeah.
and that's how we should be progressing towards,
That's
and
true.
that's how we can progress. Like, this dividing this dividing conundrum that people are, like, trying to question, like, why is this happening, is just staring down in your face. Like, even down to the racial leaders that I touched upon. Like, I think a year ago when I was still in Seattle, I read a news report that, like, the education, like, leader, I think, of the MIC, the Malaysian Indian Congress or something, uh the Indian community students, of students, they had increase of success rate of like 3.3% to 3.8% in a matter of a decade, and he was hailing as a success. So there has to be a matter of accountability there to your leaders, no matter your racial affinity or your community, because I don't think that's acceptable in that case. Like, in a matter of a decade, you have nothing to show for.
I mean, I feel the problem that ethnicities, like parties that are based off ethnicities, are like a big thing in Malaysia. Like, why is it that parties are categorized by race? Like, that's such a uncommon thing from compared to like other governments around the world, right? Like, isn't that a problem in itself? Like, I understand that communities need to have their own voice, but then if everything's being segregated upon by race, the message of unity is just not there anymore, right? Yeah.
100%.
That is a good point, but I feel like each individual community has to have its unique voice as well, because
Yeah.
I feel like because of just the basic idea that certain communities are minorities and certain communities have louder voices. If communities had a shared voice, the minorities that had different unique opinions and different positions, perspectives, would be drowned out in the majority, I feel. So as much as
Yeah.
as much as I do get, that
Mhm.
having individual unique perspectives kind of breaks down the idea of the exact definition of a community. I do think there has to be a bit of a balance, because a bit of a duality of both. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like that's a symptom of the fact that people's voices aren't being heard itself. Like, you wouldn't put this as an argument if those minorities per se had a voice, and that's what's the issue, right? Like, the fact that the majority is overwhelming the voices of the minority is why parties like the fact, like, parties based on race are crucial in such a system.
Let me say
It's a
this,
symptom.
yeah. Uh, In America, we have, like, governors and, like, um these this House of Representatives where they're representing their own state and their own communities. In Malaysia, we our MPs aren't from the area. Like, you see the
Yes.
Putrajaya, the head of Putrajaya, he's from Kelantan.
Yeah, our MPs
So
are given that position, right?
yeah, they're given a position, like,
Nice.
and that's just to sway voters to vote for the political parties as well.
Yeah, and they use, to my knowledge, they use that to put the what do you call it, the popular MPs in positions, advantageous to them, and MPs that aren't as popular in positions that don't really affect anything.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And there's some MPs you can say that you can give credit where credit is due. They actually tried their hardest to assimilate with the community, the culture. But, like, the overlying problem is that it's just such a small sample size.
Yeah.
This has been happening for such a long time, and it's never been addressed.
Mhm.
That's true.
Right, right. I mean, we can talk about like how the system currently is. Well, within that system, there are a lot of tactics that politicians use, right? And we don't have a lot of time to talk about each individual tactic, but there's one concept that I really want to focus on because it's a pretty controversial tactic, and it's highlighted here in America. I'm not too aware of its use elsewhere, but it's filibustering. And
Oh,
if you guys aren't aware of that tactic, it's a political procedure where one or more MPs debate deliberately in order to delay or prevent a bill from passing on. It's literally talking bullshit in order to make sure that things stall down. That's pretty like I'm lost for words with these kinds of tactics, honestly. Like I understand it's a political thing, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't fully agree with the interpretation though. It's not really bullshit in a way. Like some of like the most famous like speeches we've had in in American governance, you could say, has come from filibusters. Like the Civil Rights Act, for example. Like I think it was Thurman in 1957. He had a filibuster that was uninterrupted, as you said, for about 24 hours. So he went on to talk for 24 hours without going to the toilet, without going for a shower, without going for a cup of tea.
Wait, Strom Thurmond?
Yes, Trump Thurman.
Yeah, didn't
Yes.
didn't he pee in a bucket or something?
Yes, he did. He
Yeah.
did pee in a bucket. Yeah.
Good times.
So yeah, yeah, I actually forgot about that. Yeah, that's actually crazy.
Yeah, he had
Oh, that
a
fucking
he
story.
had a colleague because he couldn't step out of the podium or the circle he was in, right?
Yes,
So
he had
he
an
had a
intern
yeah
do
he
that.
has an intern come with a bucket
Oh, that
and a
poor guy.
like a towel to cover, and he peed in the
Yeah.
bucket because he couldn't leave.
Yeah.
If
A
this ain't
true gaming
yo,
icon.
if this ain't politics, I don't want it, dude.
Dude, that's a true gaming icon right there.
Yeah,
the
it's a
the
gamer
person
move,
who
dude.
invented fucking shitting in a bucket, bro.
My
Straight up.
average Tuesday, dude.
Yo, for real, dude. Straight up. Apparently, I'm
Um,
filibusting, bro, into that fucking.
Oh, that term. Wow.
yeah, I mean, I get what Amir is saying, but at the same time, I kind of I kind of understand Jude's perspective. Dude, I, I personally see filibustering. I mean, I learned it back in the day when I was doing American politics.
Damn.
Yeah, and my first reaction when I learned it in a syllabus was, why is this a thing? Because
Okay.
it felt like a loophole. It felt like a loophole that had eventually just become the status quo. You know, it felt like someone was like, wait a minute, I can just delay it, and they can't do shit. And then they were like, well, I guess he can. And I guess the reason why I have such a interesting view of it is because I don't think it's completely wrong. I think it's a good political tactic, but at the same time, it it kind of supports what I feel is the problem with politics, which is the stalling. You know, things aren't getting done. Things aren't being handled. Things aren't getting done because of stalling, because of stuff like this, where you know something should be done or something shouldn't be done, and you know it's the whole tactic is I'm gonna stall. I'm going to delay it so that in the end nothing gets done because I don't want to lose, but I can't win, but I don't want to lose either. And I do understand that there have been a lot of cases where filibustering has been used, in I don't say in good ways, but they have been used in effective ways. Yeah, there have been a lot of cases. Filibustering is a very effective strategy, but I guess at its core, at its foundation, I wouldn't say I, I wouldn't say I condone it, nor would I say I support it because I think foundationally it goes against everything I believe. It goes against or it supports what I feel is wrong with politics. So yeah.
I really see your perspective though. I mean, I really do see it, and I kind of agree with it. Like, it's kind of you could say it's kind of an ancient tool that people use. Like, not everyone's even
Yeah.
using it for the greater benefit. And stalling has been like the main like ingredient to why people want to use it as well.
Yeah, it's literally stalling.
Yeah. But going back, like
Spot stalling,
you
honestly.
you really need the chops to even like have the capacity to even filibustering in a way. So if I brought it to like let's say like America scraps it and that'd be fine because they've been using it for since the founding fathers and stuff, or even later than that. If I put it into Malaysia, I think that's a very interesting thing because I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of
Got
people
him.
can do it.
Got it?
Yo, that would be very interesting.
You
I would be interested to see how it would go about. But then again, I trust that a Malaysian could just sit around and do nothing for 24 hours. Like I feel like they would be able to do it. I don't know. It's interesting though. But
Yeah, of course, since it's new, people will find ways to like improve on things and like filter on making it more effective in that way. And there will be people who just be like looking at the phones, not doing
yeah,
anything.
true,
But,
true.
but I just want to fill out the frauds as immediately as possible. Like
Yeah.
even to do so, it just helps. But like the optics wise, like there's no way you can get support if you see this type of person
Yeah, that is true.
catching
That's
the
true.
catching
Yes.
yeah.
Dude, the amount of support the fucking Thurman would have gotten for peeing on a bucket, people would have been like, "Damn, he's committed." Right? I'm a
I
vote for it. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
when
mad
you
props, bro. Mad props.
Mad props. Yeah, everyone just like solid gamer move. Solid gamer move.
Bro, me right now, I would have fucking supported whatever the fuck he was doing. I don't even know what he did. I would be like, yo, shit,
Yeah.
really pissing and shitting in a bucket right now, bro.
Yeah. What about the wait? Was Thurman the guy that was reading the? Was he the one that was reading the recipe book, as well? I'm not too
Ooh.
sure. There was one Louisiana senator that all like when he got on, the first thing he did was he just started reading Shakespeare out loud, and he started reading his favorite recipe book from start to finish, and everyone got so annoyed. No, he did it for 15 hours, but yeah.
I mean,
I
I
think
feel
it's
like
long.
I feel like the tactic's controversial still because the reasons Thurman used it was against the Civil Rights Act, right? Like
True.
he wasn't necessarily in the popular, not to
Yeah.
say the popular opinion, but like he wasn't in the opinion which was gaining momentum at that time, right?
Yeah.
Um, well, as we've already alluded to, right? Politics, there's a lot right now that's politically motivated, and that itself is key to why filibustering shouldn't be a thing because there's too much to talk about, and adding on time for something that's merely a traditional act of gaining confidence in a sense. Whereas, like it depends on which perspective you're looking at, right? But there's just too much at stake as a person in government to focus on one particular issue if it can't be decided at that point. Um,
Yeah.
and like there's never been a case where the government has nothing to talk about because that's an ideal state. That's something where the government has typically provided a success story to its people, right? If there are no problems at hand. But even in America in itself as a country, like the amount of injustices that are currently ongoing is enough to warrant a debate at the House itself. Just the amount of injustices. Let's forget about like the economic side of things, forget about the financial side of things, forget about all the procedures that they typically do, just the injustices itself. And that's why Black Lives Matter is such a huge thing here now,
Yeah.
because people want to voice that opinion out. Um, and yeah, that's why I feel like filibustering is such a it's a tool. I agree, it's a tool, but it's not a worthwhile tool, honestly.
Yeah. I think we can all acknowledge its effectiveness as a political tool, but at the
Yeah.
same time, is it fundamentally right to be delaying conversations when we need to be having more conversations? I don't think I think that's already a conflict in ideology. That's already that's where things stop. That's where the conversation ends. I feel, and you should really acknowledge that. Okay, what are our priorities, and how should we move forward to better address them? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'd
mean,
agree. It's like form of stonewalling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's true. I mean, we're talking about democracies like not in a sense failures, but democracy's flaws, right? Because filibustering is one of them, where because you're allowing people to from different opinions, from different sides to talk, it creates that wall, that moment. So let's contrast that with another type of government, which is a
Communism.
I don't want to say dictator.
Oh, is that...
Oh,
sorry.
I mean,
Canada.
Aaron's not wrong. Aaron's not
Comrade,
Yes.
I love communism, comrade.
Your land? No, our land.
Our land.
Our land. Yes. That is authoritarianism or communism or dictatorships. It's such a broad field, but if you're living in a capitalist country, it's literally just it's the other side, right? What do you guys think about those types of leadership? If you need examples, Russia, North Korea, like I think there's a lot in head, right?
Hey,
Your
hey,
opinions
man,
about
come on, man. Russia's Democrat.
Listen, okay, I know you're memeing, but if y'all haven't heard, the opposition leader literally got poisoned and he's in
Wait.
Germany.
Wait,
Yeah.
is he okay though? Like
It's okay.
they
There's
use
no
the
updates.
not nanotechnology. What is that thing that they used? It's apparently extremely lethal.
Nanobots, what the fuck you're trolling, bro?
I mean,
Sorry, I was
if you
talking
put
about G.I. Joe,
he
bro.
put it in like his coffee in the airport, right? That's kind of mad.
No, but what they poisoned him with is like something really lethal and it's really high tech.
Yeah, it's
And
surprising that he's alive.
Yeah, and apparently they can trace the. I don't remember what the name of the thing was, but because they're so rare and they're made at nuclear plants, this isotope, it was isotope poisoning, and
Oh shit! Oh yeah,
isotope
you're right.
has
You're right.
the isotopes have the signatures, the genetic not genetic sorry the signature of the factory it was made, and they traced it. They literally traced it, but it was just like, oh sorry, we don't know how it got there. And it's extremely lethal, so I didn't know if he was okay or not. I know he is in critical condition. Yeah.
With that, what are your take on it? Like, I feel like we've just talked about one of like a massive flaw of it is that opposition is literally muted in such a system. Is that it? Like, is that futile? Like, authoritarianism is just a bad government? Because there are exceptions to the rule, right? Like, you
Yeah,
can't
man,
praise.
Duterte.
Nice me.
Oh boy.
A bit hard me.
Yeah,
A bit hard.
my country in general, yeah.
Jude about to
Where
go
literally
off.
my family split off. Like, there's a pro Duterte camp and an anti Duterte camp, and it's wild to think about it as being a person in the middle. I mean, I guess one advantage that authoritarianism has is that people are forced to follow a certain way, whether it's right or wrong. If it's right, it works. If it's not, then you're screwed. I guess since we're alluding to like very controversial dictatorships, let's focus on one that's generally regarded as a success, and that's Singapore. Well, I mean, it's really difficult to
Interesting.
pinpoint as a person.
I don't know,
Who-
man. Mahathir was a
That's-
dictator, bro.
That's debatable.
I don't know, man.
Hey, excuse me. He said success,
Oh.
bro, which is joking.
Yeah.
But if you do,
That's
if you
kinda
do like,
Hey,
controversial.
man, Mahathir's first term was more successful.
Okay.
Or
I'm-
successful
okay,
in comparison.
I'm gonna speak very generally because I don't want to be too specific about certain things. But
Sure.
Yeah,
Go
man's
ahead.
trying to not get poisoned, bro.
for real.
Honestly.
But generally,
Momo, what do you mean?
I think, how do I say this? I think any form of government has pros and cons. It's obvious, right? As much as democracy has its pros, oh yeah, freedom, oh, all of this, right? Standard of living, whatever the case is, we can all see from many examples, past and present, of the flaws of democracy. And I think it's the same with I'm just gonna say communism, right?
Same.
Yeah, like even with communism, there have been a lot of flaws, a lot of failed communism that we've seen, and there have been a lot of, I guess you could say, pros to it. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that any form of government has its pros and cons, even dictatorships. And I know that a lot of people may not, share the same opinion as me, but I do think dictatorships are efficient. And this is the logical side of me thinks that dictatorships are extremely efficient, actually. They get things done. dictatorships, in my opinion, are the complete opposite from capitalism, in the sense that capitalism, if you look at governments, democratic governments, right? We were just talking about filibustering, which is delaying, the act of delaying, stalling, right? A lot of governmental policies in democratic countries take a long time to get implemented. Everything takes time because, it's not just like one guy saying, hey, I want to do this. Like, a dictator's like, hey, I want to do this for the country. Boom, they start working on it because he's a dictator. In a democratic country, it's like, hey, I want to do this. What about the rest of the population? What do they want? Oh, what about the rest of the party, the government, the people in charge? What do they want, right? So I do think it's efficient, but then it comes down to balancing what's morally right, I guess, which is where dictatorship goes straight to the bottom of the pole. Because, like we all learned Animal Farm in Seyfal, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
Crazy, bro.
It's wild, so I think to answer your question, how I feel about it, I would say I'm indifferent, but at the same time, I acknowledge its benefits, and I also acknowledge where, it's morally or ethically not right. And,
Yeah.
you talked about Singapore, and I would say the exact same thing about Singapore. I think Singapore is the pinnacle of efficiency when it comes to economic success. Right, they've really.
I agree.
They their ability to make economic moves, and really just do what they feel like is right for the country, economically, is why they're in such a. I mean, right now, debatable, but which is why they're they're in a great position. They're generally in a great position, right? And as a Malaysian, we don't like to admit, but Singapore, economically, boom, they're doing really well, but morally. I don't know, man. like, any Singaporean would tell you that there's not, they're not really ethically or morally as represented, even though there's a trade-off of economic benefit, economic success. It's really what's more important to you. Do you want something that's morally right? Do you want to feel represented? Do you want to have your voice heard? Or do you want your country to, have a booming economic success? I don't know. It's fine. It's really about finding the balance, and it's hard. I haven't seen a country that has found that perfect balance yet, in my opinion. But yeah.
Hit the nail in the coffin there. What about the rest of y'all?
Yo, don't worry. The country that will do that is the Republic of ATS, dude. Don't worry about it.
I mean, we have a communist
Got
state. I
him.
don't know how we can do that, dude.
Got him, bro. It's a joke, bro. Relax,
Yeah,
bro.
ATS is gonna be a
Yeah, thanks.
dictatorship for sure.
It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
No, make Jason the finance minister.
You're
And just be
you're
like, yo, we got
joking.
money, right? Jason's like, yeah. Yo, where's the money?
Jason's
I don't
in
have
a-
it, boys.
Jason's in a Gucci store. Like, bro, what?
What, bro? What? What money? What are you talking about? We love you, Jason. Not really. On the whole, that was just the. I'm on full meme mode right now. The whole dictatorship and everything. I agree with Aaron wholeheartedly. To be honest, It's very much whether you value morals more or you value economic progress more, because dictators have proven to be more efficient and economically progressive, as Aaron said. And as I'm literally just gonna piggyback on Aaron right now. He's carrying me. But as Aaron said, like every example he used is the example I was gonna use when I was gonna talk about it. So
Hey,
I'm just gonna,
Don't copy my
yeah.
homework.
dude, it's hard to copy when it's the same homework, bro. Damn.
True.
It's our homework, bro.
It's our homework, bro.
Your homework? No, our homework.
Our homework. So, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like dictators do end up getting more done. Whether you want to talk about, I don't know, okay, Kim Jong Un is special case. Let's not talk about it.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that.
I mean, like, they achieve their goals, but I don't think their goals are achieved at all in a way that's humanitarian. It's more so, oh, I want a goal done. They just are forcibly have to do it, or forcibly done. It's forcibly done. yeah, I don't know much else to say on it. Besides, I piggyback off of what Aaron said, and I don't want to repeat anything too much. Really, I think at the end of it, it's what you want, what you want more, and yeah, I'm just piggybacking off of Aaron. I think if you value economic progress more, dictatorships will seem more appealing. But if you're someone of super high morals and care about all those ethical things, then yeah, obviously you're gonna be like, one person shouldn't be in charge and lead everyone. So yeah,
True.
even though that's kind of how democracy works too, but you know what I mean. There's more of a conversation in democracy.
Yeah. I mean, not with filibustering apparently.
Yes, sir.
Just joking. Yeah.
I have my bucket ready.
Yeah, man. It's kind of lit.
Or Amir, do you want to make your closing remarks regarding the
Yeah,
different?
sure. I feel like this is more of a philosophical discourse more than anything. It's based on your ethics or your morals.
I
Like,
agree.
for example,
Right.
if you want to move to another country, would you choose a democratic country or a communist country? That's, I think, a good indication of where you are morally. Like, some people would focus more on the goals, like in the communist countries where things are done more. I wouldn't say it's effective. I'll just say it's massively more I would say completed, but like successfully implemented. I can say that, but if I don't think effective is the right word for it. Um, Going back to it is there the economic benefits that cause detriments to the social benefits, yada yada yada. There's always gonna be discussions about that. Again, it's based on a person's view of things. Like, you can see in
Right.
Singapore, in Singapore, that the economic status is quite high, but that you can see in the low marginalized communities, even the middle class, you can see them going to Johor Bahru in Malaysia and to go for petrol, for water, for food during this pandemic. And in some ways that goes to show how democracy has failed, because it did not encapsulate the whole of a nation or a rakyat, if you can say that. So there are trade-offs, and it's it's up to you to see if you like it or not. There are
No.
pros and cons, as Aaron said.
Got a taste test.
No, I'm really glad that we all have that kind of mentality because I feel like wherever we've grown up on, we've been taught that capitalism is a more beneficial system. We need to have an open mind as well, because there are flaws that are really serious to certain livelihoods, right?
That's
It's
true.
good to know where the limits are. And yeah.
Yeah,
um,
we were taught to beware communist propaganda through democratic propaganda. So
Oh,
it's
I
like
agree.
it's
that's true.
insane.
Oh, so I pose a question then. In Malaysia, you see right now, like they're implementing things based on the communist like setting, like in the
Mm.
ways of during the pandemic, but
Mm.
they're still trying to uphold that capitalist mindset. I don't think it's like efficient at all. Like
Uh,
you have to like concentrate more
it's a
on
bit,
one or the other.
yeah.
It's good, yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
like, it's weird because like I mentioned earlier about finding a middle ground, but at the same time, I personally don't know what a middle ground entails. Like, and I don't feel like this current situation is a middle ground. I just feel like it's a very unique case because of
Yeah.
the unique case that we are thrust into. But I guess it's good. Things are kind of working out well. So I think it's necessary. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That is for
Credit
sure.
where credit's due.
That's true. That is
Yeah.
true.
I mean, my final remarks on Amir's question is that mixing systems up is just a form of it's just child's play at this point because
Mm.
they're too distinct to be considered as a package, right? Especially if you're thinking about the ideologies that each entails to, trying to mix those two up is really contradicting.
Yeah, especially when people trying to uphold that as God's plan. When it's, uh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, shout out to last podcast, Drake. Can
I mean, speaking of
Six, six,
plan,
six, six.
and that's not really relevant. But speaking of plan,
I?
football leagues are planning to reopen
Nice.
their leagues within the next week or two. So yeah, football season is starting. So all of the current season's kits have been released, right? The brands that makes these kits are almost the same wherever you go. So come on, guys, the typical Nike, Adidas,
Yes,
Puma,
yes,
Wait,
yes.
Vans,
do you mean
Under
soccer or
Armour.
football?
I mean, I typically mean
He
football, but
means
He
football,
means
Amir.
football, Amir. Fucking
I
hell.
mean, you could
Fuck
say
soccer.
Fucking
you could say
hell.
world football or American football. You know,
I'm just,
like
I'm just
Fuck American
clarifying. I'm just
football.
clarifying for our whoever.
This is a world friendly podcast, so
No,
Nike
fuck
still
American
exists.
football.
yo, I mean the timing of things can't be like even more worse because the NFL starts tomorrow. Like exactly. So I was very confused.
Football season, y'all. Football season.
Okay,
Nike,
world
Adidas,
football.
Puma, New Balance, Under Armour, they're all the same brands. Like it still rings true, right? Even if you talk about American football.
Across
So for
sports,
the
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
yeah,
if,
so
if you
that's
see if you see Umbro in NFL, dude, I would go ham.
what the heck. But that's related to the question of the week. So let's
Oh,
choose among the many sportswear brands available. Um, which of these brands would you most likely lean towards, regardless of the purpose that you use them? It's a very general question, but I want to see if anyone has an affiliation towards a certain brand.
Nike.
I'll start first. Oh my gosh, never mind. Aaron,
I thought you were talking about
Aaron,
from the six.
Aaron,
My
you
goodness.
need to explain
I
yourself.
don't know if Jude was expecting us to be confused with this question, but I
Yeah.
think we all have strong stances on who we
Yeah.
like.
Nike.
But
No,
anyway, let's just go with it. Let's
thank
go.
you, Aaron.
Nike.
Good point of it, but yeah. Why, Aaron? Yes, we know. Aaron, why?
Okay, first of all, Adidas is so damn pricey, bro. Like, and I've always
Yeah,
been
it's for the elite
yeah,
like me.
Adidas is for the elite, like Abid. He is correct. Not everyone got that 12,000 stimulus package.
I'm joking,
Yeah.
but yo, what the fuck, bro? Yo, I wish I got that stimulus
Eh,
package,
Oh
bro.
yeah, you right. Okay, it's actually. So I can't really buy shoes that easily because of my feet size, and I'm in Malaysia, and people in Malaysia don't have big feet apparently. So whenever I want to go buy shoes, I have to go to an outlet retail, Mitsui outlet retail mall, and Oregon Thing premium outlets. So I have to basically go really far away to buy shoes that are like above normal sizing, and something about the Nike shoes, especially like the Jordans and stuff like that, they're built for people with bigger feet. You can kind of tell, like they're a lot more wider fitting, and the soles are a lot more comfortable. So when I went to go get my first pair of shoes, I went to Adidas and I went to Nike, and the first thing was Adidas didn't really have much selection in sizes. Adidas has bare minimum sizes above size 11. It's insane, even at the retail outlet mall. Like nothing is above size 11. Nike has actually a lot more shoes that are above size 13, and they have a lot more bigger size shoes. So I could even wear a size 12 Nike because they're so wide fitting. And that's when I started just buying Nike stuff. Like I don't really purchase anything else besides shoes, but I guess I would say I'm more affiliated to that brand more than any other brand because of how much I love their shoes. So that's pretty simple for me. Who wants to go next?
I thought this was a very straightforward response. So whoever is willing to voice out their affiliation, go ahead.
Didn't you want to go, Jude?
Oh boy,
Oh, whoops,
I can
whoops, I
start
cut
as
you
well.
off.
But, damn, I thought people had enthusiasm, but okay. I mean, mine's really simple.
We are infused. It's just I feel like there's another
Wait,
approach.
I thought you were enthused. You seemed very enthused before Aaron went. I like Nike.
Yeah.
I like Nike.
So
I like Nike.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fair. I choose Adidas any day because, well, my wardrobe doesn't have a lot of sportswear in general, but I think if you were to discount like football kits, because I have Liverpool kits from every year, but they're apparently New Balance. So I'm not going to count that since I'm forced to buy a
And
New Balance
I'm
kit.
supposed to be the lead flexing. Okay, bro. Sure,
Don't
bro.
gotta flex on us, Andrew, dude.
Every year, son.
Anyway,
Holy crap.
Never
anyway,
walk alone. Yeah.
yeah, like, and I'm not really fond of sportswear in general. Like, I think I'm the least fond in terms of shoes compared to like people in ATS. But regardless, even the casual wear that I have, a lot of them, like a lot of the sportswear, a lot of that's made by sports brands is by Adidas. I have a few Nike items, and those are the ones from factory outlets like Mitsui in Malaysia. Um, I do enjoy them, but I feel like because people use Nike a lot here in America, it's it doesn't really endear to me as much as Adidas. That is my opinion. Yeah. So whoever's willing to go next. Bring, bring.
Amir?
Such a quiet room.
For me, I'm similar to Jude. I'm an Adidas boy. I think I've been an Adidas boy for a long time. Um, to be honest, before I wasn't really biased towards anything. I would just get whatever looks cool, and I think to a certain extent I still do that. But I am super Adidas biased now, purely because I find their stuff better looking in my personal opinion, of course, and just better fitting to me. Whether it be shoes, whether it be clothes, I like the aesthetic of it. And although what Aaron said has truth to it, Nike is made for, I feel like, bigger feet and everything. They're bulkier shoes and stuff, which I don't really like. I like shoes that are more small and thin and like not crazy big. So I don't know. I've always just been fond of Adidas. I only got into streetwear like 3 years ago, and Adidas was popping at the time. But Adidas also fit my aesthetic, so it's just what I'm drawn towards more. Plus, I mean, if you want to bring football into the, hey man, Bayern was sponsored by Adidas, got a Bayern jersey, all that stuff. But yeah, I'm an Adidas boy, German boy.
Fair. That's fair. And the stripes are really iconic, bro. I think that's one patch that I can't.
I mean, just as
such
iconic as a swoosh.
That's true, but
it is just yeah.
It's how do you say it? The swoosh is a logo. The stripes are a fashion statement.
Wow,
That
dude.
is very true. That is
Yo, Aaron, you know what? You just called you poor, bro. Damn.
I don't speak in attributes, bro. My bad.
Yeah.
You see, I don't have
do better,
attributes.
bro. Do better next
Anyway.
time, bro. Thanks, bro.
Do better. My bad, bro. I'll try.
Speaking of fashion, Amir.
I mean, to preface this, I gotta ask, like, Aaron, I have to ask Aaron, yeah. Which, since Jordan Brand's a brand by itself, would you take Jordan over Nike or Nike over Jordan?
That's an interesting question, because I feel like even though they're kind of affiliated, they both have such unique, different styles that I treat them as two separate brands completely. Unless we're talking about like, I would treat them as two separate brands completely, and I think I would take Jordans. If I had unlimited funds, let's say, I would take Jordans, right? Because Jordans are just pricier, but Jordans are built for people with big feet. I put on any pair of Jordans, I can tell. They're basketball shoes. They're built for wide fucking feet, Bigfoot monsters, right? And they're just really comfortable. So I would pick Jordans. But yeah.
It's fun because it's funny that you said that it's rare to have people with big feet in Malaysia when there's literally two of us with big feet in this podcast chat.
Dude, like, I don't know, man. Like, when I walk into an Adidas store and I ask them for like a size 12 and a half or 13, the guy just looks at me like I'm like some first of all, he looks at me like I'm a foreigner already when I walk in. He looks at me like I'm even more of a foreigner when I ask him that question, and it's just like so sad. But yeah.
Okay, so back to the topic at hand. I can give a top three, like, because we're going off brands. That doesn't just mean shoes. That means it's a collective brand. So I put, like, I'll go differently on this. Like number 3, I put Adidas. They've been very strong these past few years, but this year they've hit their stride, I guess, because they risked it all on like these artists or like these designers like I don't know Pharrell or Kanye to just pump more designs, which is like different colorways to their unique sh- shoe brands, and you can see that it hit its peak, and you can see a tiny slope or slide down rabbit hole, and you can see New Balance has kind of usurped them in a way, which has fit the mold of the not bulky shoes, but it fits the aesthetic. Fits aesthetics in that perspective. So I'll go for Nike, one of the leading brands. They really innovated this year, especially if you go by this year. Their collaborations has been always on point. Even if you discard Jordans this year, where I think it's been the main weakness because they've been trying to like bring back retro colorways instead of innovating towards new Jordans, trying to like grimace nostalgia back into the consumers. Like Nike has been just killing the game based on collaborations. If you can see Dior, you can see Fear of God, all those style things, and even through their soul designs, like the SB lows. There is no question that Nike has the upper hand on things. So in terms of design, I got them on the ups. Price wise, yeah, pricey, but that's what you get when you're a leading brand in the world, the number one leading brand in the world, you could say, in terms of value and um like marketability wise. So yeah, Nike, number one,
Let's
undisputed
go.
king.
Let's go.
Mhm.
Let's
I mean,
go.
that's fair. Like Nike's just ubiquitous. Nike and Adidas in general. But yeah, so those answers were expected. But yeah, um, let's move on to songs of the week. I feel like this was such a solemn podcast, right? Because of politics in general.
Yeah, it's a
Like
bit of a
we
sad
gotta,
topic.
yeah, but important issues have to be raised up. So
That is
let's
true.
I
lighten up
love
a bit.
I love that it's a transition from summer to the fall too, which is just like a mood
Perfect, perfect.
essentially.
That is true. That is true. So typically in typical fashion, Abid, would you like to start off with your songs of the week,
Oh, yo, sure. Um,
if you have
so
them?
no, I have them. This took me a while, bro. This week's one took me a while. My first one is Nostalgia by Ebenezer.
A
My man's Aaron put me on Ebenezer. What was it, a
yes,
month ago? 2 months
yes,
ago,
sir.
whatever, maybe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, the words just mean everything to me. I can relate super hard. The song, I mean, it's vibey. If anyone knows me at all, you know how nostalgic I am. So a song named Nostalgia would be very appropriate to my character. It's a good song. It's bittersweet. Um, yeah, it's nice. But yeah, it's an amazing song. Ebenezer super underrated. Yo, this man's yo, yo. I hope he makes it big, bro.
Yeah, facts.
Um, the second song is called "Worth Living For" by Said the Sky and Oliver the Kid and Levi the Poet. Um, the song actually only came out like a day ago or 2 days ago, and it's a very deep but also not deep song. It's a weird one. It's actually very deep in the sense that if you actually read the words, you'll be like, oh, that's what he's talking about. But at the same time, when you're listening to it, yes, there is a certain mood and ambiance to it, but it's just it's nice. Tells you a story within the song, and it just tells people to keep on going and stay positive, and that change is inevitable, and just because a chapter is over doesn't mean everyone's book is done. So yeah, those two are my songs.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So my two songs, yeah. are Obey by Bring Me the Horizon. I think it just released like a couple of hours ago. I'm not exactly sure. And Red Card by Frisco, featuring Skepta and the BBK Boys. This week has been a weird one. I was expecting a very solemn one, but it's been quite crazy in terms of, I guess, well, the sports, especially. Pierre Gasly just won a Formula One race.
Yes,
We
that's
had,
wow.
in baseball, we had a 29-9 scored game where like a maximum has been like either 7-3 or a 10 score game. So 20 to hit 29, I wouldn't think in my lifetime I'd see that. So everything's been a madness. So these two songs makes me pumped up to start a day, and to keep on going, even in case I'm feeling drowsy or feeling down. A bit of grime and rock to fill your day. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Ooh, interesting because our podcast kind of we're talking about politics and kind of a sense of dread when you think about it.
Well, we
And
need
then all
this
our
part of the
music,
podcast.
then our
Yeah.
music is so feel good almost, I guess. I on that same in that same sense, I feel my two songs of the week are kind of feel good music for me. First one, I don't know if I mentioned this in any of my other songs of the week. I don't think I did. I can't recall. But
It's
I'm
okay.
gonna say
We have Jason.
yeah, we have Jason just in case. My first song is Bossy Bop. Something about this song it's literally a bop by Stormzy, Bossy Bop. It's really bumpy, like it's really vibey, and it just I'm a quote Amine. Songs like this sound like music you would play on the way to pick your friend up from jail. Like that is literally that is literally what it feels like to me, and it's nice. It's very carefree. My second song would be from Amine himself, "Together" by Amine. On a similar vibe, this song kind of gives me the feeling of wanting to get out of a rut you're in and wanting to make it and change for the better. He talks about, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna clean my house. I'm gonna, work it all out. I'm gonna try hard and I'm gonna make it. And I feel like, especially with how a lot of people have been feeling dread with the times that we're in, we don't forget that we have to keep pushing forward and that we'll make it eventually. Yeah, those are my two songs.
I mean,
Man, like
my theme.
Stormzy.
Man like Stormzy, dude. Man like Stormzy. That's how you're saying, Jay?
Yeah. But anyway, no. I mean, my theme's also pretty upbeat for the first song at least. It's
Okay.
"Adore You" by Harry Styles. If y'all haven't watched the video, it's amazing. Honestly, it's about Harry falling in love with a fish. Not like in terms of like a relationship love, but like in terms of like a pet love in a way. In the middle of a fish market. That really typifies, like, exemplifies the meaning of the song. It's supposed to be a love song, but it really is applicable to a lot of things, to a lot of concepts of love. The second song is left pretty. What do you say? It's pretty left. It's pretty out of character in a sense for me because it's my first dive into Latin music in a way. Um, so Spanish music. It's by Hawaii. It's Hawaii by Maluma, and
Yes.
yeah,
Let's
like
go.
okay, the first line is literally, it literally means stop lying, and I was like, yo, I got hooked immediately, dude. But I'm just kidding. Like the song is so emotional, and I think
Yeah.
that's representative of Latin music in general.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in love with that song. But yeah, it's a sad song, so like it's the only song I think in this list that's like going against the trend.
So yeah,
But with that, it's a wrap. So thank you to the boys for being here,
Yes,
and
sir.
thank you all for once again tuning into the ninth ATS cast. So bye everyone.
Ciao.
Kazooie.
Hey,
Au
say bye.
revoir.